Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. Another requested video, and today I'm going to tell you how to put the 3D Services Finality gear drives together correctly. Well, they are kind of put together correctly anyway when you get them. However, you have to take it apart to insert the motor and also to oil them up. Very simple, but I want to make sure you know how to do it 100% correctly and enjoy your Finalities. If you are a lucky owner of the Finalities for hyper trucks for Lacroix, then I will leave the video in the description below. It's a very detailed video on how to install the gear drives on the hyper truck and all the oiling and bits and pieces. So in this video I'm going to break it down into simple parts. Number one is take the gear drive apart. Number two, install the motor, the keyway. Number three is how you grease it all up, and number four, put it all together. Guys, video number 4, next step, we're going to now install the trucks onto the beautiful deck we made together. Take a look at the videos 1, which is parts list, 2, which is carbon fiber finish that you can do within an hour on your deck. Also the bottom of the deck finish, custom finish. Take a look at all of that, beautiful. So next step, we're going to install the front trucks, and also we're going to install the rear trucks with the gear drives. And we need this part because in order to install the motors, which I already done one, but I will show you how to do another one, how to do it correctly, we need them fixed down to something solid, like the deck. It's easier to work on it like this. Also, well, I'll explain it to you after. One thing to mention, guys, is that Aero Pro deck, which I'm using, is actually 30 degrees, okay? The Finality trucks that I'm using, they are based on tramper trucks, so they do require 35 degrees angle in order to operate, well, the way it was designed. So, mate of mine, Red, thank you very much, mate, a member of Northern Monkeys, hello monkeys, has printed me some rises. 3D Services provided the STL file for free, any different angles you want, plus and minus. I think it was 3, 5, 7 and 12 degrees. By the way, the link is on Eastgate Freedom Facebook group in album, so I've put it there. So Red has printed me these rises. They are solid polyurethane, beautiful. I believe this should be dampening my impact a little bit more than normal steel rises. I got some aluminium rises coming from 3D Services, which I will test very soon. So the riser will be installed obviously underneath the deck to give me the angle that I require. I also have color coordinated the fixings to this board. So I'm using the blue anodized cup washers, these are called. It's going to make it a bit prettier. And also using the real carbon fiber custom cut anti-sink plates for the top of the deck. It looks nicer, plus it gives it strength on this critical part where your truck's actually assembled. So it's going to be something like this. I know it kind of sounds a bit OCD, but yeah, I had this front already assembled, but then I didn't like the bolts, the way they looked without the cup washer. And yeah, I've took it all apart and ordered some more cup washers. But that's just me. So as simple as that, guys. So front, back. Well, back is a little bit different because we're using the 3D Services 100% waterproof EC enclosure. But I'll show that to you in more detail. So let's put the front together, right? Here we go, guys. The front trucks are now beautifully installed, and it has the beautiful colored finish or color coded finish to the mounting of it. Look at that. That's just beautiful. This is the best part, when the board actually starts coming together. Can't wait to try this. Absolutely gorgeous. So, next step, we're going to install the rear. Okay, so the next step, you are going to take the EC enclosure. If it's not 3D Services, any other one, doesn't matter, but this is what I'm using. I have pre-mounted the bracket to the enclosure, so I can see exactly where it's going to end up, because you do have some adjustments on the height. So we're going to just marry it up, and to see where you like it, yeah, roughly I know how I want it, definitely. Now we're taking the bracket off the enclosure. So here we go, guys, the trucks are now installed, and I really like the way this board is coming along. Look at this, absolutely gorgeous, really like it. And the rear trucks with the gear drives are installed, so now it's going to be much easier for us to work on these gear drives, because they are now fixed to something. One other thing I wanted to mention, guys, I do always double nut on the trucks bolts. Well, you never know. I'm using the self-lockable nuts, but still, I think it's quite important to make sure your trucks stay in place. Okay, guys, so I've done this a little bit wrong. I didn't realize that after I will install the main gear, I will never get to the bottom two screws. Well, that's what happens when you keep on talking and looking at the camera instead of thinking what you're doing. So, before we start with this video, guys, I'm going to tell you how to install the motors and install the motors first, and this is the part right now. And then is going to be the part when you do install the gear, okay? So remember, you follow this right, okay? Well, installing the motor is actually quite straightforward. So for starters, we will need some green Loctite, and we will need some red Loctite. So we're going to just squirt some on this plastic bag, so we don't have to get the bottle out every time we need it. And some red. Okay, we also will need something to degrease some surfaces. So inside this gear, the motor gear, we need to get all that surface nicely degreased. In order to do that, I'm going to use Q-tips soaked in brake and clutch cleaner. We're also going to clean up the keyway on the motor shaft. This is, guys, so that the Loctite sits well and sets well. We're also going to clean the screws. These are the bolts for your motor, to fix the motor down. And the keyway. Now we're going to install the keyway into the motor shaft. Quite simple. Take some green Loctite, run it inside the keyway. And just squeeze the keyway right in. Make sure none of the extra goes inside your bearing, yeah? Clean it up straight away. Remember that only the stuff that is sealed from the air, which is inside or underneath the keyway, is going to actually harden up and stick. The rest of it is just gonna, well, not do anything. We're going to put a bit of green Loctite on the inside of this motor pulley from the opposite direction from where you're going to put the motor shaft in. Because if you put green Loctite or any Loctite you're using onto the shaft, and when you're pushing that through the actual gear, you kind of squeezing all that green Loctite back, and that ends up inside your bearing. Okay, so imagine you put green Loctite on it, pushing it through, you're just going to scrape it all down. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the green Loctite here. Say about 10 millimeters into the gear. Okay, that's good. Now we're going to pre-Loctite the bolts. So when we got the motor in, we don't have to stop. Okay, now the motor goes in. Nice little trick, guys. Not sure if this is going to work for you or need it for you, but for my motors it's needed. There are spaces between the cables and the body of the motor. I think most of the motors got that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill these spaces up with some glue, nice and neat, squish it all together. Whatever comes out I can always then clean up. I've tried silicone on the other side and it's not as neat job as this, I think. Okay, so we're ready. Line up the keyway and push the motor in. There we go, lovely. So now we've got the bolts already pre-red Loctited. And line up the holes. Okay, now the other two screws. Guys, these screws don't have to be overly tight. The way I do it, so as soon as you feel the Allen key flexing and the screw is not going anymore, that's pretty much it. You don't have to go crazy on this. That's it. That's it. That's it. We're done. Now we're going to actually assemble the gear. And this is how you do assemble the gear. Okay, so when you buy the gear drives from the 3D services, you get two little tubs. One is for the actual gears, and then the other one is for the bearings. That's the darker one right here. So what you do is, see them as cone space areas where the bearing sits in. See right there? We're going to stuff them up with the grease. Don't be shy. Now guys, this is the important tip. These nylon nuts, or nylon lock nuts, they're very good quality. Well, the ones that are supplied by 3D Services, made in America. However, you can only use them twice max. So if you had to fully take the nut off for whatever reason, you have to replace the whole nut just to be safe. So now we're going to tighten this up as far as we're stopping our washer that's behind the nut from wobbling about. Okay, see? The washer stopped moving. So this is where we're going to leave the nut after we finish. However, at the moment, we're going to tighten this up even further to sit the bearings and then return back. So that's it, they cannot go anymore. We're going to come back. Okay, washer is moving again, so I'll adjust the quarter back. Okay, don't worry, we're gonna have to test the tightness of this anyway. We actually need to assemble the board to the point where we can actually run the motor. So we're not going to apply the oil, or sorry, grease onto the teeth at the moment. We will get the board to a bit of a more complete position so we can run it. We need to run it for 5 minutes straight, and then we'll feel if the hub is getting warm or not. Shouldn't do, but if it does, that means it's a bit too tight. Okay guys, so the motors are now assembled. They're put onto the gear drives. The gear drives are now oiled up, and they are ready to be tested. They do feel a bit stiff at the start because the bearings gotta sit themselves in. All the grease needs to work itself all the way around. Plus, it's quite a big motors as well. Now, we need to wire this up. If you are already lucky enough your board is assembled, obviously get the motors running and run them for 5 minutes. And try feeling out if the hub, which is aluminium, gets too hot. If it gets hot, you loosen up the nut just slightly. That means the bearings are a bit too tight. Okay guys, so the next step to correctly set up these new hubs from 3D Services is to wire the battery in, get the VESC set up, and then spin the motors. And then you watch it, making sure that all the motors, both motors, spin in the same speed, and there is no weird noises, no weird bits flying off the gears. But well, this is the quality gear drive, so you won't. But then you leave it running for a few minutes, and what you want to make sure is that the hubs do not get hot. They can get slightly warm, but not hot, because if they're hot, that means you've done this nut too tight. Simple as that. And next step, we're going to oil the whole lot up and put it together correctly. So let's run them for a bit. Okay, so after 2 minutes the motors are warm. The hubs, well, they're not even warm. They're exactly like they were. So perfect. We're ready for the next step. Next step is very simple, guys. We're taking the grease, that's that white clear kind of grease, and we're going to stuff it between all the teeth on the main drive and also on the motor gears. Okay? Quite simple. Now we're taking the case that goes over the gear drives. The bolts are already inserted. There are long ones and there are short ones. Short ones go on the front. And then we're going to put some lubricant, some oil, right here on that little step. That's exactly where the V-ring will sit. So just using my finger. Goes towards the gear drive, and there is a space specially for the rubber to drop into. Make sure it does. The seal is so precise, so it drops in really nicely, spreads open and covers the entire area. Beautiful. So now we're going to put the hub covers on. Well, and now the best part. You're going to put the wheel on. And this is the beauty of the system. It's literally 5 studs. No spaces, no bearings to worry about. Like in a car. That's it, guys. That's pretty much it. Absolutely love the system. Beautiful. So, as you know, build safely and ride safely. See you in the next video, guys. And here you are. As simple as that. I really hope you liked the video, guys. Please like, subscribe, share, you know, all that good stuff. But most importantly, ride safely and build safely. I'll see you very soon. Bye.